I'm not this way because I'm in Rabid Fighters. I'm in Rabid Fighters because I am this way. Welcome to Rabid Fighters, everybody.
That's the truth, Ruth.
What's that from? Any guesses? Any guesses?
I don't know.
It's relatively recent. Recent.
Is it a Matthew McConaughey role? Is it like one of those like I'm saying something really deep because when you repeat the same words but in a different order, it sounds deep.
Kind of. I'm not this way because I'm in blank. I'm in blank because I am this way.
Oh, it's from The Bear. I'm in Van Halen. Yeah.
Yeah. It's from The Bear. It's
I still haven't seen The Bear. Yeah.
It's damn good.
Shit. On to business.
Let's get this party started.
Okay, on to business. Hi, we're the Impossibles from Austin, Texas. So goes the intro to the power pop punk ska-punk band, The Impossibles.
Say that with more emphasis.
Power pop punk ska-punk band.
No, the other one. The Impossibles from Austin, Texas. I thought you were kidding.
It's fucking 10 o'clock, dude. All right.
I want you to bring the energy like the album.
That is a solid joke if you intend to. You're like, you got to do it with more feeling. Pop punk.
All right, here we go.
It's so much funnier. All right.
Hi, we're the Impossibles from Austin, Texas. Was that better? So goes the intro to the power pop punk ska punk band. That's really hard to say in a row. The Impossibles 1999 compilation album titled Anthology. Now, if you're listening to this episode, you're either a fan of the show, which is statistically unlikely, or a fan of the Impossibles, which is...
It's impossible. It's actually impossible.
More likely.
You're a fan of the show.
The Impossibles were formed in 1994 and on Fueled by Ramen, which is a record label that you may be familiar with if you like such bands as Jimmy Eat World, Fall Out Boy, and Dashboard Confessional, among many others. So for those of you who are old enough, if you may recall that in the mid-90s, you couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting a Mighty Mighty Boss Tone or a No Doubt or a Sublime or possibly even a Goldfinger. So if that doesn't give you an idea of the environment or the music scene that existed in the mid-90s that the Impossibles were formed and existed in, then you're probably too young to listen to the show. So
does 311 count? Does 311 count?
No.
Didn't they have ska?
I don't think they're ska.
Did they not? How about Skank and Pickle? I know they count. You guys remember Skank and Pickle?
Well, yeah. If you have skanking in your name, then you're definitely ska.
Skank and Pickle.
But were they ska punk? Is the question.
I don't know if 311 was kind of. Yeah, they kind of have that's.
Yeah, they had
reggae
like
type vibe.
Bullshit,
like
they had some reggae
ska
in there, but they were not punk, and they were more like stoner ska.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stoner reggae.
I mean, they do come from the birthplace of ska, Ohio. You know, I mean, that's where it all started.
We could probably do an entire show just on 311.
Dude, that's hilarious that you brought them up because didn't I say something to you this week, Joshua? And you were like, should we do 311 episode?
Get the down.
Maybe.
You sent me that clip of Eric Andre had 311 on the show, and they were just like beating the shit out of each other on stage. It was really, really funny.
Yeah. This whole episode is just going to be us either making fun of ska or just talking about other ska bands.
311's not ska though. I think we have established that.
Does Rancid fit the ska punk band?
I thought they were just a punk band.
Yeah, I don't think they had any ska elements to them.
Well, they have like rude boy shit. They talk about rude boy shit. But like, they have like ska beats, but they don't have like trumpets and shit like that. You know, like they don't like really ska it up. I think they just like try to sprinkle it in like a little oregano. You know.
By the way, 311's from Nebraska, not Ohio.
From Nebraska. So I can't remember, Brian. I can't remember whether you suggested the Impossibles or whether I suggested the Impossibles. I think you're a slightly larger Impossibles fan than I am. But yeah, I mean, it's probably you then. So why the Impossibles, Brian? Like, where were you first acquainted with them? Was it back in Florida?
A friend in high school introduced me to them. He was a big fan. He's also, by no surprise, he was a big Weezer fan too. I tried to actually get him to join tonight, but he was unavailable. But I think he's going to try and join us for a later episode. But yeah, he introduced me to the Impossibles. And this was late 90s. So I was definitely in high school, heading into college maybe, or whatever, because we met in high school. But anyways, yeah, so he introduced me to Impossibles, and I think I'm going to try to make this episode not just a love letter to the Impossibles, but I feel like they're a band that is in like the ska punk genre that gets no love from anybody. And even if you do like a basic Google search of like ska punk bands, like they don't even come up. And which is crazy to me, because looking at the list of bands, even some that you named, they're far better than a lot of these other bands.
Did a Google search on them to see what they look like. So I put in Impossibles band photo, and it brought up a defunct band from Thailand over them. They were at the top of the list, and I was like, I just want to see that's what they look like. Like, what the fuck? And then I was like, that's
not what I expected at all.
Surprising. They're old too. And they look really friendly. Oh, they're from fucking Thailand. And it was like seven spots below that was the real band. I was like, that looks...
Yeah, on Spotify, they only have about 5,000 listeners a month, which was lower than I thought they would be.
YouTube Music was 66 listens on a couple of these. Yeah. Or
holy shit.
66 likes. Yeah.
And I don't know, and I'll be completely honest, like, am I biased? Or, I mean, I like to think that I have decent music taste, and if you like something like Weezer or, that type of genre or whatever, if you're a fan of punk or, pop punk, those type of bands, like I can rattle off a bunch of them, but how do you not like this band? Which is bizarre to me. Like, cause especially, I maybe think of one of our previous episodes where we were talking about, kind of like the nerdy, like when we were doing Czarface, and it's like the references that are dropped in there, it kind of brought me back to that a little bit. It's like, they're making references to like Star Wars and things that, are nerdy, kind of Magic 8 Balls and those kind of things. And it's Superman. Super catchy. Yeah. Superman and all these type of things. So the themes in it, and then it's a very playful type band, but then they also kind of have some serious songs too. And I don't know, from the catchiness of it, I was always just surprised that it wasn't maybe they just never got the exposure based on the labels, or I mean, I don't think like the ska punk pop punk thing really lasted that long.
No.
And we'll probably talk about it, but they eventually pivoted to a more like alternative indie sound in like their subsequent albums. But this first one, which is pure like kind of the ska punk type thing, I just always thought this was I loved this band, and I was always surprised that no one would ever, I mean, people had heard of them. Some people, like, I probably was excited that Josh even knew who they were. So
I think that was one of our earliest bonding moments, I think, is when we both realized we were both fans of the Impossibles.
Yeah. Cause I feel like being from Florida for this period of time, like Fueled by Ramen was very prominent to me. Like, and I had friends that went to UF in Gainesville, and we used to go to shows and see bands there, like Less Than Jake.
That's who I was trying to think of earlier. Yeah, Less Than Jake's another one.
Yeah, and they played a ton of shows, and they were on Fueled by Ramen, all these other bands. So, and I feel like the pop punk epicenter sort of turned out to be like Florida in a weird way, but like Newfound Glory. It went to my high school, and all this other bands that came out of there that were kind of crappy at the time, but like in this heyday were very popular. And so anyways, I felt like I knew who they were just because it was kind of in my face. But
and I feel like if you did the blind taste test of Impossibles and like Newfound Glory, I feel like Impossibles has got to come out on top there. Like, it's just higher quality.
Newfound Glory is just
Newfound Glory is like, but it's like it's way famouser. Like I think more people know about Newfound Glory definitely than they know about the Impossibles.
Yeah.
But
it seems like a travesty.
But Newfound Glory doesn't do ska, right? They don't do ska. They just do.
Well, you know what? I would argue that there are ska elements within the Impossibles, but they're not overtly ska. They don't have a horn section. There aren't 40 of them on stage. They have like the ska rhythm on a whole bunch of songs, and there's like one song where they bring in horns.
Yeah.
But that's it. The rest of it is mostly like power pop and pop punk.
Yeah.
I'd say it's like 70-30. 70 pop punk, 30 ska. So
a lot of the early stuff sounds like a punk band covered Weezer. Because there's
it's funny. It's funny the Weezer connection, because just like Brian, I was like at a house party at the University of Alabama, and somebody that I can't remember who it is, but who I knew, I think tacitly knew I was a big Weezer fan, and was like, "Hey, you like Weezer, right? Have you ever heard the Impossibles?" I was like, "No, you need to listen to them right now. Like they're amazing." I was like, "Okay," and from that moment,
I'm in. I'm literally doing nothing else. Please play me some music.
So I think this was on, I'll blatantly steal this from, I want to say Wikipedia or some other thing I read, but it was a really good comparison. It said Impossibles that likened to if Operation Ivy and Weezer had a child. And I was like, that's a pretty good, like,
that's funny. So I didn't look up anything on this band, but I was sitting in the gym. I was like sitting in a kid's gym watching kids play soccer and like listening to this thing again.
I like that backpedal right there. I was sitting in a gym. I was sitting in a kid's gym.
A kid's gym on the little risers where all the parents perch and like wait for practice to be over. And it's like 8 o'clock. And everyone has headphones on. Everyone is looking at something. And
no one's paying attention to their kids.
No one is. I'm watching Pearl at least.
And Greg's forming a pit. He's just wailing.
I'm watching Pearl, it up. But I am like kicking my feet up and down and like bob my head and stuff. And yeah, I was like, what is this? Because I was starting the album over again, and I was like, what is the fucking vibe under this? I'm like, oh, it's Weezer. Yeah. This song sounds like, you know, like that you know, kind of like it's totally Blue Album Weezer too, like, you know, early punkier sounding Weezer. I was like, that's it. And then I'd be listening, and sometimes I'd be like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, oh, this is like the Darth Vader music from fucking Star Wars, like that they shoved in
Imperial March.
Yeah, the Imperial March. I'm like,
which like my junior year of college, first time hearing this, like that was like hit me at the right time. Of like height of Star Wars nerddom. Yeah. I was like, oh, I love this band. This is the first song right out the gate.
Yeah, and there's even like isn't there a line about being the Dark Lord of the Sith?
I don't know.
In there.
Yeah,
so.
I guess.
Is there?
Yeah, there is.
I was watching too much youth soccer to look at all the lyrics, but I heard them here and there.
Yeah. This album had an impression on me because I literally could sing this entire album almost from front to back, and I don't even know.
Damn.
Like it was crazy. Like I put it on and I was listening. I was like, I'm like, I know all these words. I know the words to all these songs. Which is crazy. Yeah. But so I'm either listened. I know I listened to this a lot, but I didn't realize how much like I had absorbed of this band, and that I could sing pretty much all these songs without even looking.
Did you ever see them live? Did you ever see them play?
I did. So
damn, nice.
Yeah, so I saw them like 3 times, I think. So it's funny. I only saw one. I think I saw the original lineup once. So with Pat on drums. So the original lineup is Pat, Craig, Gabe, and Rory. And back when they used to wear the baseball jerseys with the Impossibles on the front. So I saw them one time, like kind of the legit Impossible lineup with them doing that, and then later they broke up a handful of times or something, and then they kept like getting back together.
They wanted to go to college.
They wanted money, probably.
I think, I don't know why they broke up. I mean, I think it's just, whatever.
The first time they broke up was because like half of them wanted to go to college.
Really?
Like
okay.
They didn't. So it did like different locations.
I never saw them on that. I saw them when they reunited after that first hiatus, and then they played shows, and then later, subsequently, they got a new drummer. I think they had issues with Pat, who later I think passed away. I think he died.
Oh, man.
But so they had a different drummer, and I think I saw him a couple times that way too. But like, just such a fun show, especially because it's when you say, like, if you know who they are, you're kind of undoubtedly like a super fan.
Yeah, if you're in the room, you probably are a fan.
Yeah, so it makes for a great atmosphere where like everybody knows every song and it's super fun. Like, and they're just a high energy band, and they kind of have that dual thing going, where Rory does kind of I think in this particular
two lead singers.
Yeah, the two lead singers, but it's kind of like Rory sings a lot of the goofier stuff, and Gabe is kind of the straight man, on some of the deeper songs. So the different voicings, everything that has to do with, comics and Star Wars is always like Rory singing that part. And then Gabe does the more straightforward stuff. But yeah, so, but I'm pretty sure they both write together, and they ended up going and doing other stuff together too. But yeah, I mean, that's how I've seen them a handful of times, but it's been a very long time.
I haven't listened to any of their newer stuff. Anthology is basically the only thing I've ever heard from them, and I heard it a thousand times. But one of the things I love about it is that they've got this like loud, quiet, loud sort of aesthetic to it.
It's very
which
90s.
And when they hit on the loud parts, they hit super hard, just like high energy. And it's just like song after song, like super catchy, great lyrics, like just tremendous vibe. I don't understand why this band isn't more well known.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird.
There's a million of them out there that are probably like this, where we're just in another world. They would have been on top, but one reason or another just didn't hit at the right time.
I think I've seen one ska show in my entire life, and it was the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones in DC. And there were two Massachusetts kids that befriended me early on, and they were like, "We're gonna go see this Boss Tones show." And I was like, "Yeah," because they have the word Boston in their name. Sorta.
That's all it takes.
Almost. And
that's a reach.
So I was like, all right, I'll go to the show with these kids. I just got here. I need friends. And so I went to the show, and at the time the Pittsburgh Pirates were like perennial, like, NL kings of the NL. And I had this Pittsburgh Pirates hat because I was like, the Red Sox suck, and I need an NL team. And so I had a Pirates hat on at the show. And in the middle of the show, the singer,
like the gaudy one with like the yellow stripes all the way across.
Just the classic P, the yellow P on the black hat.
Okay.
And partway through the show, the lead singer, I think he's Dickie Barrett or something, he was like, "I gotta have that hat, man." And he I was like, okay, and I gave him the hat. And he put the hat on. And he's like,
"Aren't you in a successful band? Can't you afford your own hat?"
Jumping around the stage with my hat on. I was like, okay, when is he going to give it back? Then he fucking wings it frisbee style into the crowd, and someone
like a Seinfeld episode
grabs it, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And so the show ends, and these guys are these kids I know are such super fans of the Boss Tones. They find him, and they have in advance arranged a party at their apartment, like a Boss Tones themed party, and they've invited all these people, and they were like, "We're gonna get these guys to come to our party." And so they fucking go to the Boss Tones after the show, like 19-year-old kids or whatever. And they were like, "You got to come to our party. We're such huge fans." And they were like, "Okay." So they fucking went. They went to a college party. And I see the guy later in the party, the singer, Dickie Barrett. And he comes over and he goes, "You were the guy with the hat." I'm like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Sorry about that." And I'm not kidding. He reaches in his pocket and he pulls out 3 crumpled $1 bills. Fucking hands them to me.
That ought to cover it.
And I was like, "It's okay. You can keep them." He actually kept them. He put them back.
Dick. Throws your hat in the crowd.
So he fucking whipped my Pirates hat in the crowd. Someone got a sweaty, used Pirates hat. Like, congratulations. And then this guy tried to give me 3 crumpled dollar bills so I fucking pay for it. And he hung out at a college party and like swigged vodka with a bunch of teenagers. Like,
nice.
Oh, the 90s. Yeah. Oh, the 90s.
That beats the hell out of my ska story.
What's your ska story?
So I was in college, and we went to go see this it was just a regular night. I don't think we went to go see this actual band, but there happened to be a ska band in town that was playing at the Chucker, which was the the dive bar in Tuscaloosa, Alabama at the time.
It's called the Chucker.
It was called the Chucker. R.I.P. It was a great bar, absolutely great bar.
It sounds so southern. Y'all going down to the Chucker? Hell yeah!
It was actually the only non-redneck bar in Tuscaloosa. It was the punk bar.
Bet your ass I'm going to the Chucker. They got Steamin' Joe and the Sloppies there tonight.
So there was there's a ska band called the Velveteens that were in town, and I've heard of them. I think they're from DC. I want to say, but there's like 10 of them or 12 of them. And their big thing is that they do a ska rendition of the Beetlejuice song.
That's Chuckers. You gonna see that Beetlejuice band down at Chuckers?
So, and I mean, they've got the horns. There's the whole arrangement going on, and it's a good vibe. They had a good show. And so at the end of the show, there's like 40 or 50 people still there, like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm drunk. And they're like, thanks, you guys have been great. Does anyone have a place we can stay? So I just yell out, yeah, you can stay in my place. So all 12 to 14 of the Velveteens crashed at my apartment that night. It's not a very large apartment. So just like everywhere, there's band members all over the floor. And then they left at like 8 o'clock in the morning. I was like, nice meeting you. And I got a CD out of it. I think I still have the CD around here somewhere. CD. But
they fried all of my eggs though and ate them.
No, I guarantee you there was no food in the fridge to begin with. So.
Now that's what I call a hell of a night at the Chucker.
Chuckers. Y'all see them Velveteens at the Chucker? Oh,
y'all
hell
see them, them real big catfish, man. Have you seen that?
You guys can't. But the Chucker was actually a legit like dive bar, punk bar. All the other bars in Tuscaloosa were like redneck frat boy places. Like this was the one place where like the theater kids and the punk kids could hang out.
I don't think that Beetlejuice fella's right in his mind, but I like him. I'll tell you that much. He put on a good show.
Come on by. You can sleep on my couch.
You got a lot of
energy.
You ever
heard the Beetlejuice song with horns in it?
What is the Beetlejuice
song? I think that was the main selling point.
What is the Beetlejuice song?
Like, dun, 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 dun,
Danny Elfman?
The Danny Elfman Beetlejuice song.
But I can't remember it because it's from 1987. I haven't seen that movie since like 87 or 88.
We'll put it on the playlist. Okay. We'll put it on the playlist and you can hear it. I might feel maybe the Velveteens are on Spotify.
I want to know if the Chucker's still around.
No, it's not actually. It went under, but I was actually kind of sad because this year a bunch of like old college buddies and people like locals from Tuscaloosa who are still around like held like a sort of like a remembrance like anniversary of the Chucker. And had a ton of shows, like a ton of bands come in. It was like a big benefit.
Pour one out for the Chuck.
Like 20, 30 bands came into town for it. It was supposedly a really, really great concert, but I missed it.
Y'all were going to have a seance with the Chucker.
I'm going to pour out a quart of motor oil and a couple loose teeth on the ground. So you said that wasn't a good story.
I feel like you guys are making fun of Tuscaloosa. Chucker was great. It was they had a big like what do you call it? Painting a big mural behind like on the stage. Their slogan was "Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité."
They got nudies up on the wall in the bathroom at the Chucker.
Yeah, I deserve them.
Yeah, I mean, it's the name itself just begs to be named.
It's just a hilarious fucking name, man. Oh man,
I want to say maybe it was even like Le Chucker, like it was French, like it was Le Chucker.
Le Chucker.
That's like the Rathskeller in Boston that got called the Rat. Everyone's like, "I'm going to the Rat tonight. There's a show at the Rat."
late chucker. Guys, it's French. It's
French for the
It's tasteful. If you're in Tuscaloosa, tasteful.
It has a mural, you guys. So wait,
It's an
what album are we
opera.
talking about again?
We're way far away from the Impossibles at this point. But
all right. I'll
I don't have a good
I'll talk
ska
about
story.
I'll talk about the Impossibles. So I've never heard this band before. I never really heard of them except for you guys talking about them here and there. I don't actually care for ska. I've heard like Jamaican ska bands, and I'm like, this is how it's supposed to sound. This is great.
like first wave ska.
I don't like Velveeta ska, like the super white bread like Midwest version of ska music where you're just like, this is like kids putting on Halloween costumes and pretending to be someone else, like not very effectively. So I don't have a lot of love for like the white boy ska movement that happened there. Especially they took my goddamn hat, but I'm still holding a grudge. But like, this is one of these albums where, for me, I was like, if you could get rid of all the ska, this is a perfect album. Like every song started out as like, I was like, no, get away. And like, I would grade a song down for how much chucka-chucka it fucking had in it before it got to the good stuff.
How much chucka-chucka it had in it?
Chucka-chucka. The chucker.
From the chucker. And sometimes a couple of the songs, it would be like 25 seconds. I'd be like, oh God, oh no, it's going to be a whole ska song. Fuck. And then they'd be like, like crank into it. And you're like, all right. I forgive you.
You won me back.
So it did it again and again, where I'd be like, this is an amazing song, except for like 14 and a half seconds of like weird. It's like, did like, is there a guy in the band who had like a practice space and he loved ska and like they had to let him play with the band so that they could have a practice space? Like, well, if you let Gary in the band with his little chucka-chucka, then you can have the garage.
I feel like it's only with kind of the rhythm, and they like if someone's singing over it, then they just like launch into something else of the chorus, and then they kind of crank it. But it's like it's almost kind of like a filler in a weird way. But are you a fan of like Operation Ivy at all? Or Op Ivy?
I liked Operation Ivy. All right. I liked Rancid better, I have to say, probably, which is his later the project. That's the same dude. I forget his name, Lars, I think. I think Op Ivy was all right. There was like another really 90s, band that had good stuff, but I haven't heard them in forever.
Suicide Machines.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've listened to Operation Ivy.
I had a girlfriend in college that was really into Op Ivy, and I kind of gave her a little shit about it back then. But
what? Op Ivy is the greatest ska punk band of all time.
I was like, I would like, tell her what it sounds like because they sounded like, a bunch of other bands. So I was like, oh, it sounds like this.
Sounds like chucka-chucka.
Yeah. But yeah, like they got. It's just like I want to just set him aside and be like, okay, guys, it's time to get real. Gary, you don't need his garage anymore. Gary can leave the band, and then you can be a punk band, and then we're good, right? Can we all agree that we're getting rid of Gary?
So I think too is if you're
not working out, Gary.
So this was kind of like their first iteration, but like they break up and then they come back. They have another subsequent album called Enter Return that's more straightforward, alternative kind of. I don't want to say punk, but it was there's no more chucka-chucka anymore.
Yeah, is it good?
Oh, Enter Return's fantastic. It's a good album.
Yeah.
You should listen to it. Yeah, it's definitely, it's definitely a more mature sound.
Yeah.
Which I think that's kind of interesting because as Joshua said, like it's a small percentage. Like it's not they're a ska punk band, but they're not a ska band. Like I don't particularly love ska bands. I mean, there's like 3 that I could tolerate, right? Like the Specials, like
exactly.
Something where it's like
the Selector. Madness.
Yeah, there's a handful of like real like of whatever ska bands, whatever wave they're in. I don't fucking remember.
Yeah, but they want
who can remember all the
the Specials want to be a ska band. The Specials are like, we are a ska band. We don't like mix it in like seasoning. Like this is our thing, and we have a giant ass band, and everyone's really talented, and they're really super committed to the sound. And then totally, that's great.
So that's the thing is like, and then, but yeah, I'm with you on it's weird how I put this band, how I put somebody like the Impossibles in a different genre than like, like the whole like weird big band and ska revival thing, like Bouncing Souls and Voodoo Glow Skulls and all this shit.
Or remember
Real Big Fish,
the swing dancing. There was like a swing dancing
swingy big
thing.
band.
There's a swing dancing.
It's like it's a year and a half.
Yeah, and I think that it kind of all got lumped in together. Like how I can't imagine. I'm assuming that's how like a band like Real Big Fish got popular, right? Because to me, it's like
Cherry
like,
Pop and Daddies.
Or Goldfinger, or any of those type of bands, right?
The Cherry Pop.
Wasn't the other one Big Bad?
Worst name for a band ever. Oh
Big
my
Bad
God.
Voodoo Daddy.
Big
Isn't that
Bad
another
Voodoo
one?
Daddy is another one. Yeah, they played the Super Bowl.
Did they?
They did.
No, they
did. One of those like
the Super Bowl of football.
Yeah, one of those mishmash shows where they invite like 14 bands and they all play on the stage at the same time, and you're like, this is fucking terrible. Like who gets fired for this? They were like,
there was a lot of weird revivals, because then there was also like a rockabilly kind of revival in a strange way, which was all kind of just Stray Cats rip off.
Yeah, it's like 50s greaser shit retread. Yeah, totally.
Brian Seltzer. He's been in every wave.
Yeah, he is.
He's waiting for the next one to come out.
In Boston, he's known as Brian Tonic. I'll have you know. Brian Seltzer.
Brian Tonic and the Stray Cats.
Just gotta get a can of tonic. Watch the Stray Cats.
Brian Pop.
So I don't know. I don't put them. Yes, like it's like ska riffs, but I definitely put them more in a pop punk type camp than I would.
Yeah, I feel like they got the combination right.
Yeah,
especially on Anthology. Like I think it just works. It's not ska to an annoying level, and I actually have a soft spot in my heart for ska. I think it gets too much hate, but everybody has their own taste. But like you, I think I pride myself on not liking the fake ass ska.
Yeah.
There's definitely a purity to the first wave, to the Specials, to not only like the sound, but actually like the ethos behind it, the harmony between the races, the blending of the genres that make something beautiful and new. Which most of the '90s ska wasn't really about that. No Doubt could not have cared less about any of that shit. Yeah. So, but they're getting back together though.
No, I've seen them. I saw that at Riot Fest.
They're getting back together.
They played Riot Fest. They were fine.
Well, Gwen Stefani, I guess, needs some more money, so they're gonna get back together. They're playing Coachella, I want to say.
Gwen Stefani's cool, man. I think she's a cool lady. She has like, I kind of smirked at No Doubt when they first started. I was like, this is kind of a crappy band, but like,
I mean, there's a few good songs.
They're a talented band. Yeah, she's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like, like how Godzilla -1 has 11 minutes of Godzilla in a 2-hour movie. At least this has like 11 minutes of ska, maybe in an hour-long album, or maybe 5 minutes of ska. And you cram it all together. So it's the saving grace for me.
We're gonna cut together just the ska parts for you.
Just the ska. It's like when they put all the dream sequences from Brazil together. Yeah.
So, and you guys may have an opinion on this. I wonder if, say this CD drops on my desk today. Do I love it as much today as the 18-year-old, 17-year-old me hearing this? Right. Because I feel like that it hits you. It's kind of like the Weezer Blue album hits me at a certain moment of my life where that is a thing, and it takes me back to like listening to this album is like a warm blanket in a weird way for me. Like it reminds me of the friends I was hanging out with, the shows that I went to.
So you're saying remove the nostalgia factor,
that kind of stuff. Yeah, I just wonder if I remove the nostalgia, like, do I like? I think I would, but like I wouldn't go out today and try to. It's like me trying to listen to pop punk. You know, it's if I had if I have a relationship with the album or the band from my teenage years, like I can tolerate the album, but if I didn't and I listened to it today, I'm like, dear God, this is awful. Like I can't listen to this shit. So it's just weird. Like I'm trying to think, but I think I think.
Yeah.
I always thought the Impossibles were talented. Even from the lyric writing, even though it's quirky, it's still well done. The ska rhythms are minimal, but that kind of thing is. I just always thought they had a really nice like balance of like playful, but also good lyrics, and they always felt like it's funny because then there's couple of albums. It's like they always wanted to be. I felt like they should have been a more serious band, or like they needed to go to someplace else. It was just weird. It's like a lot of talent in a band that didn't really go anywhere. It's kind of strange. Although Rory did go on and he was in the Stereo with Jamie.
Yeah, you recommended that band. I heard a couple of their
some
tracks.
other stuff
I like
he
them a
was
lot.
in.
I'll probably give them another or more of a thorough listen.
Yeah, their first album 300 is really good. They're then I think Rory got kicked out of the band and whatever, and Stereo went on, but it's like they both tried, and then Gabe, the other writer and singer, has gone on to do other stuff. Then they somehow get back together and do some other side project. It's like they just keep trying to make it work, but it never. It's weird. They just never reach that second level. We're
gotta find a way to make money out of this thing.
Yeah,
I really want to.
Yeah, but then you have like other shitty bands like the Ataris that are fucking popular, or like what's that, Midtown? Like I just looked up all these pop punk bands. I'm like, how did this band fucking make it? Like it's just so weird how one band, they're all the same. They're all very similar. Or Saves the Day. Or
I think if maybe the Impossibles were
very
able to get into the Warped Tour, maybe they would have made it all the way. They would have totally. Like that was the jumping art part.
I think you're
they didn't get the
like,
exposure because maybe they didn't sign up for it. Maybe they thought they were too good for it. Maybe nobody asked them.
Maybe nobody.
No, I don't know. I mean, they were touring with big name bands like Less Than Jake and a few others that I can't remember now, but I read that earlier today. So I feel like the opportunity was there. The audience was there. Lots of people heard them.
Yeah.
But for one reason or another.
I wonder if some of that is continuity, like breaking up the band. They kind of did their thing. They put something out, then they broke up. Then they were gone there was a hiatus. Then they come back together for like a year, and then they'd fall back apart again. Like there was no consistency allowing for that, like to build them to become known, because they kept just putting and resetting themselves every time with starting over. But I think that's a very good point. I mean, the Warped Tour was like the vehicle for like pop punk bands. For
if they made another Tony Hawk 1 or 2.
I was just gonna say, if you're on the Tony Hawk Skater soundtrack.
Because for me, that's how I like a band a lot. For the first time, is like I'll see them live. If you're good live, and I see you live, and I always watch the opening bands. If a band like this jumped on stage, I'd be like, now I'm your fan. Good job. But if you don't tour and they don't have regular stuff coming out, then like forget about it. You're done. Like you can't get traction. You have to stick with it, and like for a long time, or unless you're
dead to Greg,
lucky,
fucking
and like
your nose to the grindstone,
play or something, and you get the first album you ever put out as a huge hit. Yeah,
I mean, you're coming from a small label in Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah,
so it's not like you're gonna be pushed into the, like maybe just didn't have the presence. But I think I never really thought about that much. It's like, I think to Greg's point, like I think you just have to, if you're going to be that kind of band, you need to play a billion shows,
do nothing,
every shitty bar you can think of, and and just keep putting shit out for years until eventually you get asked to be on the Warped Tour or something.
There's a band out of Texas also called the Riverboat Gamblers, which I fucking love. And I saw them play outside at a show, and the lead singer was like all over the place. He climbed the towers and jumped in the crowd, and like they just like threw all their life force into the show. And I was like, yes, now I'm a fan. You guys are fucking great. And yeah, it's a pop punk band out of Texas too. But like, you have to be able to see these people. You have to be able to hear them. You have to see if you see a guy jumping off a tower into a crowd, you're like, that sticks with you. You remember that. You look them up.
To that point, I'm trying to think, maybe this was just the time in my life where was it me, or was there like, I think Joshua alluded to in the intro, there were 1,000 of these bands like that all sort of sounded the same for like 5 years. And you're like, shit, you couldn't go anywhere without a new band and a new pop punk band. And like, it's like they all kind of sounded the same. So it's not like this was unique. It's like everybody jumped on this fucking bandwagon. And then, especially when they probably started hitting like, bands like No Doubt started hitting
saturation
and stuff. It just got even, or whatever. I mean,
well, that's
Green Day,
where
Green Day and all these bands that are just like everybody had a pop punk band.
Yeah, and all these albums, all these labels, I mean, are like, we need one of those.
We need a Green Day. Give us a Green Day.
But once they get one, they have one, and then another one comes along. They're like, we already got one. We don't want.
I do feel like there's something unique and special about the Impossibles and the quality of songwriting, the energy they bring. The Impossibles is a fantastic band name. I mean.
True.
Yeah, it's a great band name. Yeah,
it speaks for itself. Like you hear the name, The Impossibles, you're like, that. Of course, that's a great band name. That.
I mean, it's no Diarrhea Planet,
We making fun of Diarrhea Planet.
But not
rest in peace.
That's
great.
That's like a band that's like that's a band that's like, hey, we have an idea. Let's put together a really good band and just dare you to hate us because of our terrible name. The world's
God damn, were they
name.
good?
But I mean, to Joshua's point,
I saw them play too.
Naming yourself after an old Hanna-Barbera cartoon is like, you kind of know what you're getting in a like fun kind of way. But
I didn't know about the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, but I was like, that's an awesome name. The Impossibles is a great name, especially if you say at the beginning of every show, hey, we're the Impossibles from Austin, Texas, or whatever.
And then just start ripping into 8-Ball. Like that's how they opened every show. It was awesome. Like it just, it was great seeing him live because you're waiting for that moment of him.
I hope that Thai band just does Impossibles
just rocking out.
God, that'd be awesome.
They don't do anything now. They're defunct.
They're called Lay Impossibles. Like Chucker.
They played the Chucker at 99. I saw them there.
I'm speaking personally. I definitely more heavily listen to like the first 7 tracks. If I rewind the past 20 something years that I've been listening to this album, I definitely listen to the first 7 tracks a lot more than I listen to the back half. So, but it's a long ass album. So
I was gonna say, if you go onto like YouTube Music and look them up, like you can, or I'm sure you can do this on Spotify too. Is where it tells you how many listens per track. It definitely tapers off like from front to back in this. But I think 2 of the latter tracks, Plan B and Back for the Attack, are 2 of my favorite songs by them.
Those are quality.
And they're on the back, but they didn't have like a ton of listens, which is, strange, but because they're very much
the last
like
2 songs, like 19 and 20 were like B-sides or something, weren't they?
They're like an EP or something to, was it like Francis and Simon? Or I know Kamikaze was kind of
Widowmaker's on there twice.
Yeah, I wasn't sure Widowmaker's on there twice. But I don't know if there's any difference in the 2. Maybe one was a demo or something, but
yeah, I think one's a demo.
I rated the first one a 5 and the second one a 3. Both of the Widowmakers.
Heard it before. Redundant.
Yeah.
Heard it.
Try harder.
Done it. Already did it.
For the most part, I like all these tracks. I mean, obviously I have favorites, but there's not like a ton of weak stuff on here. I'm trying to look.
I think overall it's pretty damn strong.
Yeah, I mean, even tracks like Francis and that are slower, because if the whole album's, I mean, this whole anthology is pretty high energy, and so when you get like kind of a slower song, you're like, oh, it's kind of a weird break in it. But like, there's not a song I would skip. But I don't know if again it's just because I'm a large fan of the band, but yeah. Secretly, I just wanted to put this album / band on this list so that maybe one day someone stumbles upon this episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go listen to the Impossibles. Give them the love they deserve. They're a great.
It's a cultural touchstone for us.
At least for me,
right.
It's a cultural touchstone.
For me too. I think it's hilarious that both of us came across this because
that is pretty
of
funny.
Weezer.
Yeah. Well, my love for the Impossibles will will reign on in the podcast realm. And one day it may reach Rory or Gabe and they'll want to join our show. Never happened.
I think they would have. What really would have changed the trajectory of their career is if they could have played the chucker.
Yeah.
I think so.
You know what? What if they did play the chucker? You just don't know it.
That may have been what really.
I mean, Alabama's not that far from Texas, so
really,
no, that's yeah. I will say I did a cursory search across Spotify for the Impossibles in podcasts, and there are several podcasts where they are talking about like ska and interviewing Rory, but there are no podcasts that are talking about the Impossibles. So we're breaking new ground here, folks. This is the only place you
can hear about
to talk about the Impossibles.
Me
next
talking
week,
about
a band you've never heard of on a podcast you've never heard of.
Somehow this makes it into like Rory's inbox. He's like, listen to these three chuckle fucks talk about your band for 2 hours. He's like, God, what a bunch of
these guys don't know anything about ska.
idiots.
They were like, how'd they know about Gary in his garage? I just didn't know they knew that story.
But it'd be, if they got back together, would I go see them? Probably.
100%.
But
yeah, I'd see this band for sure. Yeah,
I will say this: that they are super
the Empty Bottle
fun live. Like,
yeah,
I think their last thing they did was they recorded like a farewell show at, I guess it's a big club in Austin, at Emo's in Austin. And I think they recorded it. I should have watched that just because I think I have seen it before, but it's like their last show together or something. But I highly doubt they'll be reconnecting and reforming the Impossibles any day soon. But.
So let's rate this. Is it a real big fish or is it an Operation Ivy?
Wait, real big fish is bad.
If you have to ask, Greg.
Okay, good.
If you have to ask.
As someone who hates chucka-chucka, how do you fucking think?
Well, I was like, I'm asking him.
Oh,
yeah, no,
Please tell me you didn't
my
have real big fish be the A.
It's an A- for me. Not an A+, just because it is really long. If they had kept this album, I know it's an anthology, and they're putting together like they stapled together their the one album they made, an EP, and a couple demos together to just sort of package it all up and like this is our early work. But I feel like if they had kept it, under 10 tracks, it probably would have gotten a lot more legs on it, a little bit more digestible by the rest of the public.
Wouldn't that just been the first album?
Yeah, just re-release that. Here's the album. Just put that out. That would have been fine.
We should have reviewed that just the first album, right?
Yeah, I mean the first album's not available anywhere. Like it's just the anthology that's there. But
yeah, I think it's probably a label issue or something.
Exactly.
They just probably got packaged it all up.
So no, I love this album. It definitely conjures a lot of nostalgia. Brings me back to not only when I first heard it in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, but the ensuing probably 10 years after that, because I still listened to it really heavily during that time. But yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about it. I love it. And I love ska as well. So I'm going to say that right now on the air. We're on the record. I love ska.
You'll never turn your back on ska.
Yeah, like you know my position on ska. I wish they just cram the songs together without it.
I like the idea that you have a position on ska, like it's a political platform.
You know my position on ska.
You know how I feel. You know my platform.
But on the other side of it, punk, melodic punk, pop punk, any kind of punk is basically almost my favorite thing ever. So it's a huge like sugar rush of like pop punk around all this stuff, and it is quite irresistible when they crank out the high energy punk stuff. So I forgive them for their transgressions, And for that song about the teddy bear. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Hey, leave Francis out of
The
this.
song about the teddy bear. All right. But yeah, I'll give it a B plus. It's a good Sugar Rush album. I went for a super long walk and probably went twice as fast as I would normally have gone listening to this thing. And
You started skanking up and down the hill.
skanking in a soccer practice with a bunch of other parents around me. So yeah, it's quite enjoyable. Just get Gary out of the band. He can still use his mom's garage. Brian.
Solid A. I can't yeah, like I said, I think I put him on the list. I'm beaming it out there to get people to listen to this band more. But I some of this is nostalgia in that I'm trying to get one more fan on board. I knew Josh was a fan. So, hey, Greg, come and meet the Impossibles. So it's one of those things where if something holds a dear place in your heart for a band and you want to share with other people. Yep. So for me, it's probably always going to have a place in there's a handful of bands that are like that, and maybe more albums that just sort of are at that time and place, as Joshua said, that where they just kind of find you and they seem to, speak to you in a weird way. So,
it's called love, bro.
Out there loving the Impossibles, but. Oh yeah, the little heart action.
Is it working?
There you go.
It's working.
So I doubt we're ever going to revisit them and do Enter Return, but their second act. But it's also worth a listen. There's no ska in it at all, Greg. So
Greg's on board. He's like,
yeah,
I'm already there.
So all the good stuff that you like from this anthology, it's mostly on the next one.
Yeah. And again, I don't dislike ska. I just like suburban white boy ska, sprinkled into other stuff. That's my main problem.
Anyways, so solid A. Like I said, if you find this podcast, check them out. I mean, try just try to play the first track on this. And then when they hit that power chord after Where the Impossible, you just shit gets good. Yeah. Shit gets crazy. You just
And then if you feel like turning it off after that, just listen to the first couple seconds of the second track.
You're back.
And it's gonna suck you in. I guarantee it.
Yeah. That is one of my favorite things, though, is if I like a band and I show it to someone else and they're like, this is a great band. I don't know why. I always just feel better as a human being. You're like, I bettered the world somehow.
I did a good thing.
Bit.
I did a thing.
Yeah, I did a good thing today.
Yeah, I think we've done the Lord's work today.
Amen. Amen.
And if I saw that they reformed and were playing in Nashville, I'd totally fucking go to see the show, and I'd show up early.
You hear that, Impossibles? You got 3 ticket sales locked up.
Listen up.
3 tickets locked up.
Okay, well, that's episode 18 we just did, guys.
Okay,
amazing.
Yeah. Which is 2 fewer than the number of tracks on this really long album.
Yeah. What's next week, Brian? I think you're up.
I know I'm up. I'm
You're gonna freeze up, aren't you?
Not
sure. He's calling an audible. He hasn't decided yet.
No, I'm between 2. One that I haven't seen at all, which is kind of surprising. So I'm kind of leaning towards that because it's just I've never seen it, and then but apparently you guys have, and then one that I've seen a lot that I think would just be really fun to rewatch. But I feel like we've kind of done that already. All right, so I'm going with Starship Troopers.
God.
Damn,
because I've never seen it. Apparently,
I'm loving this.
Really? I've seen the clips from it, and I know people think it's funny, but I've never seen it, so I kind of feel like I need to see it.
You're finally gonna understand the meme that's a mashup of Starship Troopers, and I think you should leave.
Oh,
where they're like, I've done my part, I've done my part, I've done my part. I didn't do fucking shit.
No, I know that's from Starship Troopers. So that's what I'm saying. Like I've seen the GIFs and stuff, but I've never seen the movie.
Now you're finally gonna understand. You have context for that.
Greg, have you seen Starship Troopers?
I've seen it. I saw it in the theater and never again because I was like, dear God.
great.
Is it that
yes,
shitty?
you need a rewatch. You need a
I
rewatch.
love RoboCop, and same director Verhoeven, and I was like,
Mhm.
RoboCop is so good, and then I was like, what the fuck is this?
Have either of you guys read the book?
Of
The
what?
Robert Heinlein
No.
Starship Troopers.
No.
It's a classic. It won the Hugo Award. It's a classic science fiction story.
Are you serious?
It's an interesting movie though. So I can't wait.
All right.
I can't
Doogie
wait.
Howser as like Heinrich Himmler or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's delicious.
Holy shit! I don't know. I got
God.
myself into. All right. So
Oh man. Okay. Well, we'll see you next week then.
all right then.
Pick it up. 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 Pick it up.
Chucka chucka
Pick it up.
chucka 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 chucka.
Spotted